I have Eric Gravatt on the line, and by the way, Eric, along with Ron Evanuik, will be playing Minnesota Jazz Awards Fine Line on Sunday night. Eric, it's been a long time. Welcome into Minnesota Public Radio.
Thank you.
Well, it's time to catch up on your career, Eric. You've been one of the fine percussionists in jazz, and of course you have quite a track record with Weather Report. How many years with that group?
Actually, all total, maybe 2.5. I really didn't spend that much time with them. I spent more time with Tyner.
With McCoy?
Yeah.
Yes. And that had to be an adventure.
Both of them were big fun, different sorts, though. You know, the energy level with Tyner was always more to my liking, but the music with Wayne in Weather Report was I think will prove to be more have a longer standing effect on me.
In what way?
Well, I have certain compositional aspirations, and just the exposure to Wayne showed me so many things that are I should be concerned with. He has such a nice way of approaching ensemble music. It's hard to describe, as everything elegant is. It's so simple,
And that is deceiving, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
For your own influences as far as percussion is concerned, who did you first listen to as you were working into the field?
Well, my first influences weren't actually on trap drums. My first drum was congas. I started playing congas much longer before I had a set of traps. So my earliest influences were like Chino Pozo and Armando Peraza, people like that. From the Cuban music industry.
And that Afro-Cuban movement, which really was presided over by wonderful percussionists, including the grand bands of Tito Puente and Machito and all of those.
Yeah, well, Machito, by the time I came on the scene, Machito's music was pretty much, I won't call it passé, but it was not as thrilling to me as Carlos Valdez or Francisco Aguabea, people like that. I was much more interested in that because they were playing, Machito and them were playing things that were a synthesis of the two cultures, and I was primarily interested in what's called the society music, music having to do with people involved in traditional African religions that still practice those religions in Cuba. And there are parallel societies like that in most of the South American countries, as far down as Bolivia and Chile and Argentina, and there's another parallel in Brazil.
Eric, you and Ron Evanuik have a new project, and it involves a recording studio. What's your objective?
Well, we're trying to get that off the ground so we can maintain some measure of autonomy and viability, because the industry does not support our particular musical interest at this time. It's always on the premise that it doesn't sell, but anything sells. Everything that's sought to be sold can sell.
Exposure seems to be the name of the game too, doesn't it?
Yeah, but as I'm often fond of saying, frostbite and heat stroke are both forms of exposure. Exposure that
you've cracked me.
The exposure that most people offer me is rather short-sighted. I think they fail to understand that I've already worn out 3 passports.
Well, that's an amazing track record.
So I can't say that I don't need exposure, but I think the exposure that they're offering me is falling so much short of the mark.
Well, do you find it limiting to live in this part of the world?
No. I came through it too often as I was traveling with both of the before mentioned bands.
McCoy, Tyner, and
yeah, I came here several
Weather
times
Report.
with them long before I moved here.
Well, wish you the very best in this new recording project as you develop the art, and you might very specifically just focus for us on the kind of music you want to produce.
Well, basically, we want to do something that allows us to continue the tradition into which we were born. I hear too many drummers today that cannot deal with 4 quarter notes, and basically, if you can't take it all the way back to Baby Dodds or Chick Webb, then you have no need in trying to even play like Kenny Clark. And that's basically, swing is still still oriented around the development of four quarter notes by any number of individuals, and somehow that concept seems to have eluded most of the younger players. You know, there's a certain type of aesthetic that's at work now. Well, it's not at work now. It's been at work for the past 20 years, and I have to say Weather Report is largely responsible for it. You know, I don't know how to characterize it, but there's a certain lack of intensity that seems to have been accepted in lieu of the other end of the spectrum. Both ends of the spectrum have to be represented, and I've just found that too often guys can play sweet and melodious and not have any kind of guts, you know.
Eric Gravatt, it's a pleasure to share in your observations, and we wish you the very best in your new project with Ron Evanuik, and may you be able to develop your art and expose it to the limit. And in between then and now, we'll catch you Tuesdays at Knickers at Lake and Lindale with Ron Evanuik, and Sunday night at the Fine Line for the Minnesota Jazz Awards.
Thank you a lot.
Good talking with you.
Don't let me forget to mention that we have Dean Gramrose on guitar and Joe Police on vibes,
which makes a formidable group.
That's what I've been told by everyone but the club owners.
Well, they seem to be a little short-sighted. Thanks very much, Eric Gravatt.
Thanks for the time, Leigh.
Good talking with you.
Okay, good.